You're listening to the Practical Wealth Show with Curtis May.
Hey guys, we're going to entitle this show The Starting Point. I just want to have a short episode with some thoughts of, basically coming out of some client meetings I've had over the last week or so. People will, hey, I want to talk about this, or, I want to talk about investing. I want to, most people think that the key to growing their wealth, or their, what I like to call their personal economy, is to find better investments that pay a higher rate of return. But, it's only two ways. It's really only two ways somebody can help you in the finance world. One is to do that, and often, especially what is typical advice, the way to grow that is to, is based around products and taking more risk. I was looking at a companies. I was going over a client's. I don't really give advice on this, but I was just giving her an idea of what it would her 401k portfolio look like. And as I was reviewing it, it was like, if I could say the name of the company, but basically it said low risk, low reward, higher risk, high reward. I mean, it's very subliminal. See, in my mind, risk means probability of loss, right? But that has nothing to do with anything. So when we took at the starting point, one of the things that, a saying that a mentor taught me and that I try to repeat, I think I have it in my business cards, is your economic situation is a matter of choice, not a matter of chance. Okay. And, here's the challenge that I found with people in your everyday life. You find it more difficult to delegate the time necessary to cover information needed to plan a successful future. And, many of the professionals you work with subscribe to the theory, that proper products will produce the desired results that will create future success. And then products are important. I call them the clubs, right? And investments are necessary, but they are not the center point of planning for your future. What do I say? Your number one asset is you. And so what do you have to invest in first? Your mindset, your skill set, and your network. I'm going to run that. You're going to hear that every week. But the products you purchase are not the source of your knowledge. Hear this now. And so they should be the result of your knowledge. So when we talk about you being the bank, that outcome of you seeing why you should add that just to, pick a concept, should be a result of the homework I give you, of your study, right? That's why I consider myself a financial educator, because it's your money. I'm just a guide, right? And so I want to empower you to think, right? Because see, knowledge is something that you learn. Wisdom, however, which is what I want you to have, is the ability to apply knowledge to your everyday life. I told somebody, I said, listen, you can't get lost if you already are. And so what you must understand that what you know today will determine your future success, right? The most important question when thinking about your future is very, very simple, okay? Ask yourself, are you planning a trip or your future? See, most people spend more time planning a vacation than they spend planning their finances, right? And what's the most important thing you need to know? See, when I ask people that, the answer is incorrectly, saying that, well, I need to know where I'm going. So what are my goals, right? And so you do need to know where you're going, but really, let's say I'm going to your house and I'm lost and I'm like, yo, Jackie, hey, this is Curtis. I'm on my way, but I'm a little bit lost. What's the first question you're going to ask me? Yes. Where are you at now? Okay. So really what you need to know is your starting point. See, how can you get from point A to point B if you don't know where A is? So, what you've got to do is you need to take account of what I call the state of the union of your personal economy. This is really, one of the first things that we do with people is to, you need to know where your cash is going. So you need to, look at a budget or a what's it called? A cash flow management plan. What is your life costs every month? Okay. What is your net worth? What is your assets, everything you own? And then within your asset column, do you have real assets, meaning from the Rich Dad definition, something that puts money in your pocket every month? And see, so instead of focusing on capital gains, is my 401k growing? Which is an illusion because it's up that day, whatever the net asset value of the shares are, but they could be down tomorrow, right? So unless you sell them and turn them into money, it's not a real thing. And so what's real is, have you bought an asset that's throwing off cash flow? And see, that's the true measure of wealth. See, what you're working for is cash flow greater than your expenses, passive cash flow greater than your expenses. If it's coming in and you have assets, what Jim Rohn says, financial independence is being able to live like you want to live from the income from your personally invested assets. Okay. And so where are you now? So while I'm looking at people, when you look at your balance sheet, ask yourself, okay, do I have any residual income? Do I have any real estate? Do I have, if I built a business, network marketing or consulting, whatever that's throwing off passive income? And so, I challenge you, and this is what, when, we're creating a coaching program, what we want to do is every 90 days, every 6 months, I want you to think about, am I growing your passive income? I work with real estate investors. It's like, okay, what's the plan? What is your, as my friend Jimmy Veland calls it, what is your strike price, right? So if you're averaging, he does turnkeys, right? So, and I heard, him and Kim Butler has a great book out called Busting the Real Estate Lies, right? And he starts out with, what is your strike price? So if you need $10,000 a month, which is a good start, $120,000 a year, and you average $200 a property. So let's say you're buying turnkey. You call my friends at Mid-South or Dan Satowski or Marco Santarelli. So you look at some of the the episodes that we've talked about in the show, and that's just real estate. I mean, you should be thinking about the 4 asset classes, right, which are business, real estate, paper assets, and commodities. But you say, well, let's just say your average rental is $250 a month. Okay, so if you divide 10,000 by 250, you need 40 houses, right? And so when do you want that? Do you want that in 10 years? Then do the math, okay? And so you've got to get your money up. You've got to learn. I might be, you might start out with one. I remember I was reading one of the Rich Dad books, and Kim Kiyosaki had the goal of buying a house a year for the next 10 years. And then she bought them and it got good to her, and her learning curve from just taking action grew exponentially. She ended up having 20 in like the first 18 months, which started their path. And so that's the thing. So you have to, activity produces knowledge. So you have to get in activity. Y'all know I got back I was at the Chris Prefontaine, the Smart Real Estate Coach event last week, in their QLS event. And we're going to host them down here in Philly. But that stuff, folks, is the real deal. But they were doing deals where their average transaction was $70,000. So they developed a business that's flowing cash flow, right? So you have to focus on that. And so, but I think before you do that, I'll go to these, just to network some of these real estate groups, and people, or when I speak to real estate investor groups, they don't really have, one of the things I try to do with them is to put the real estate investing in kind of a plan so you can track your plan, because planning for entrepreneurs is different. It's really completely opposite of for regular folks, right? And so if you follow like what I call typical advice, it's actually detrimental to your health. So, even if you're working a job, you at least want to be an entrepreneurial thinker. You need to add, 1099 or business income to your job just so you can eliminate some of the transfers. One transfer, for example, is taxes, right? And so what happens is when you discover where you are at, you will uncover options and opportunities in your life that you may not at this point be aware of, okay? as your knowledge grows. Like when I look at somebody's situation, I see stuff you don't see because I look at it differently, right? And so there are more opportunities in helping you minimize the losses in your life than there is to try to pick winning investments. So this is why, at our firm, we start with efficiency. I want you to start thinking about efficiency, looking for the wealth transfers. Because what you got to understand is everything in your life has value. So not only your investments and savings have value, but the things surrounding your everyday life have value. Your possessions, such as your homes, cars, everything you own has value. Your ability to work has value. That's why you got to protect it, right? Because you take it for granted. Your business, your entire family has value. So rich people look at the human capital of their family, of their kids, right? And so your family could be valuable financial tools in the future. We have a program called the Family Legacy. Okay, so hit me up. I'll send you a report I have on that. But it's fascinating if you start thinking about it in the right way. I think we miss out on the capital of our kids, and you're investing in them, or you should be, but everything has value, right? And so we'll do a whole episode on that. But many people go through life really the only way, this was me for the first 20 years, the only way to prepare for their future is to rely on personal retirement programs and government benefits. Well, if you're still thinking that's you got to call me, because we got to get you out of that, because that is problematic at best. Okay. And so although these are important factors, they're not the only ideas that should be considered when preparing for your future. Learning how only works in your life, learning how money works in your life. See, how does money work? See, I teach people how money works, right? And see, first step is awareness. And so what you want to be able to do, see, once you're aware of how money works in your life, you can live the best life you can today and in the future. But discovering where you're at and that everything in your life has value will be the starting point in creating a defining moment in the way you approach life. Okay. And so here are the points I'm kind of hitting. You got to have a starting point. You can't get lost as you already are. So think through planning your future, not a weekend or a week trip, right? Everything in your life has value. That's point 3, right? Now I want to talk about the start versus the finish. See, almost every American has dreams of retirement and some ideas of creating a comfortable life in the future, right? Most Americans know how they want to finish, but very few know how to get there. It's just work, put my money away, help some fund managers really smart, right? And so that's what I call traditional thinking. And traditional thinking and planning has failed many, and in the process destroyed dreams of a lifetime. Many problems of reaching goals in the future are caused by a lack of information. That's what we try on our show, and a sound financial understanding of principles. See, when we talk about prosperity economics, we have actually 15 principles of prosperity. Principles don't change. Principles don't have anything to do with products. If you read The Richest Man in Babylon, the 7 cures, chapter 2, the 7 cures for a lean purse, those are principles, right? And so getting to the finish line is not the goal, because everybody's going to finish, okay? And how you finish is determined by the start and preparation of getting to the finish line. And so everyone is going to finish. If everybody's going to finish, then the difference between finishing successfully your financial race and poorly is determined by the strategy of running the race. And one of the things I used to tell my daughter all the time when she was running track is she would run the 400 meters. I would say, listen, you have a game plan for the 100, right? And you got to get out and you got to stretch it out in the first leg of the race, 100 meters. And then you're going to pump your arms and work hard through the corners. Then you're going to kick it on the back 100 meters. Then you're going to, when you hit that corner, you got to let your momentum carry you through. And then, and your body's going to be screaming, lactic acid's burning, and that's where her coaches say, listen, you got to trust your training. you're prepared and your body can handle this. And then you just got to kick it, and that's where willpower comes in, because the rate, that 400 meters is a race, right? And so every nerve in your body is screaming, stop, stop. We can't do this. I can't sprint for 400 meters. But if you trust your training, then you can finish, right? And I would say, don't worry about what everybody else is doing, because, the lanes are staggered. You just make sure, you might have made up your stagger, but you want to be in position to make a move when you come off that final corner into the last 100, right? And so I always tell her, or when she was in school, I say, listen, when people tell, oh, you can't take such class, that's really hard. I said, it's hard for them. You have to run your race. Don't let people psych you out. You got to stay focused on your race. And guys, don't get caught up. Let me add this in here right now. I'm talking about it with keeping up with the Joneses. You want to compete, but don't compare, because that comparison, now you're coveting thy neighbor's stuff, right? And so that is what gets in, and it ruins prosperity thinking, because you're jealous or this and that's going to ruin your prosperity, right? And so what happens is, think about this. So if you wanted to become, because everything you do in life, the result of your action will depend on how you prepare. And so if you want to be a doctor, would you prepare by studying art courses, all the art courses you could in college? I don't think so, right? So not unless you were interested in having the fanciest waiting room in the world, but to be a doctor, you would study all the appropriate courses and then enter medical school. Yes? And so money is no different. Folks, you need to apply a thought process to where you want to be in your financial future. See, heading into a future without a clue of how money works exposes you to many unintended consequences, transfers of your wealth, not understanding money, not understanding the banking system, not understanding that, for example, I'm going to put all my money in this qualified plan, which, there's nothing wrong with them, but you need to know how they work. They defer taxes and they defer the tax calculation. So should you use them? Yes, but you got to use them right and to a point. You just don't pile all your money in there. We only let people fund them up to the match. And then after that, you want to look at more tax favored options. Dividend paying whole life with a mutual company comes to mind, but you could also, it could be a Roth IRA. We just use the insurance as a Roth on steroids, right? Now is the time to understand how money works and discover all the opportunities that may be in front of you. See, a defining moment will occur when you are no longer out of control. See, what is our whole goal is to help you. We tell people, look, you can be a customer of the bank or you can be the bank, but the key is to have control, liquidity, use, and control of your capital. And so that is, luck, liquidity, use, and control, right? And Kim Butler calls it clue. Now it's control, liquidity, use, equity, right? Yeah, and so you want to get a clue. And so analyzing and understanding your financial situation will give you a clearer view of the opportunities and will guide you actually in making better life decisions in the future, right? And so, for example, let's think about this. So understand it. Let's talk about money. So there's three types of money that we talk to people about. So there's lifestyle money, the money that you spend. There's accumulated money, the money that you saved thus far. And there are transfers, right? So most of the advice you're getting, just for example, is around lifestyle. Hey, you got to cut back on this. Hey, you got to cut back on this. You can't go to Starbucks, latte factor. And it's all about living a lesser life. Okay. And so to me, you can't scrimp your way to financial independence. You need to be in control. And, we talk to people about creating a lifestyle ceiling, but the emphasis, that's a focus on scarcity. Prosperity thinking is, being aware of all the stuff that goes in your life, but focusing on increase, on focusing on your human life value, which is your ability to create value in the marketplace, which grows your income, right? There's accumulated dollars. Right? Typical advice is focus around accumulated money. How much you got? Well, we can do better. Well, why don't you, move that money over here to us? But here's the thing. When you're getting that type of advice, whose money is at risk? The only person whose money is at risk is yours, because the fund manager is going to make money. The advisor is going to make money. You're putting up 100% of money, taking 100% of the risk. to maybe make 30% of the profits, if there's any profits at all. I hope I didn't butcher that. I'm paraphrasing Jack Bogle from Vanguard. I think it's in his book, The Battle for the Soul of Capitalism. Okay. And so most advice is around your accumulated money. But what we want you to do is start with the transfers. That's where you have to figure out where you are right now. See, transfers, there's like 20, right? But the top 5 are how you pay your mortgage taxes, how you fund your retirement plans, how you pay for education, and how you buy big ticket items or major capital purchase, which is anything you can't pay for in full out of cash flow. Okay. And so, you might just find a defining moment in your life if you start to look at that, if you start to analyze that. And so what I'm going to leave you with, folks, is I'm going to create basically a content upgrade, and I'm going to give you the ability to download a report called Misguided Wisdom, where we can go into a little bit deeper into this. And then I invite you to, if this is mildly interesting, to reach out. But we're going to try to, I'm going to do a solo just so I can go into some concept, what I call eliminating losing financial strategies that you can do just to get you thinking. See, a changed viewpoint will change your life. And so I want to give you some defining moments in how you approach money. All right. Lastly, as you hear this, be on the lookout. If you're on my email list, I'm going to launch it first. We are starting a newsletter, the Practical Wealth newsletter. So we're going to create a family where we can go deeper into every newsletter. I got guest speakers. I've got the Smart Real Estate Coach writing a guest article every month, and other people out of the 4 different asset classes: business, real estate, paper, and commodities. So right now, for our early users, the membership will be $39.95 a month. But right now, we're going to up to our first 100 listeners, we're going to discount that, and it's going to be $29.95 a month. And then I'm going to bribe you. So when I'll put out the email, I'll bribe you with probably a good $1,100 of bonuses just for you to try it. But there's a lot of stuff rolled around my head. And there's a lot of conversations I have with people after we stop recording that I'm going to put into the back office. So, a bunch of expert interviews, behind the scenes conversations, strategy sessions. We're going to do Facebook Live. So you'll see more to come. I'm going to do a whole episode announcing that, but I want you to be a lookout for, it might even be a link to it on the show notes, but we're going to do an episode announcing, what we're going to do there. But I really want to pull our Practical Wealth community together nationally and locally. So I'm going to do local meetings if you're hearing this in your Philadelphia area, but we're also going to do Zoom meetings for people that plug in. I've been blessed to meet some of our listeners from California at a real estate event we were at up in Rhode Island. So I was like, you know what? Let's give the people what they want. All right. So listen, go out there, make it a prosperous week. Reach out. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot us an email at kurtmay@gmail.com. I love show ideas. I get a lot of good show ideas from our listeners. And if you are enjoying what we're trying to do here, please give us a review on iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you listen to this stuff at. All right. Go out there and make it a profitable day. Kurt is out.
Thanks for listening to Practical Wealth. To access the show notes and resources, go to practicalwealthshow.com. To get your questions on the show, go to practicalwealthshow.com. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before you make any investment decisions, consult a professional. This show is copyrighted by Practical Wealth. Written permission must be granted before syndication or rebroadcasting.